A scene from The Deer Hunter in which war is hell. A scene from Rambo in which war is fun. There's a big difference in war movies these days, a difference in the way that Hollywood is selling war to kids. That's the subject of this special edition of At the Movies, the movie review program. I'm Gene Siskel, film critic of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times. On this special edition of At the Movies, we're asking the question, is Hollywood selling war to kids? And that question is based both on the new breed of war movies themselves and also on some of the aggressive merchandising of products associated with those movies. Films like Rambo and Commando are rated R, after all. That means, allegedly anyway, the kids under 17 can't get in to see them. But what about the toy departments that feature Rambo and Commando toy weapons of war? Toy departments are a place where kids are supposed to go. Later on in this program, we'll be visiting a toy department to talk to some kids, and we'll also talk to a child psychiatrist who has some strong opinions of her own. But first, let's look at the movies themselves.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, there's been a big change in the last half dozen years in the way that Hollywood is portraying combat. Quite simply, years ago, in such Vietnam films as Apocalypse Now and Coming Home and The Deer Hunter, the message was unmistakable. War hurt. Combat killed or maimed. Our guys got hurt as much as their guys. One scene that sums it all up in a surprisingly quiet way is a scene in the Oscar-winning film The Deer Hunter in which Vietnam soldier Christopher Walken is recuperating from battle in an Army hospital.
Let me see your name tag. This yours? What are your parents' names?
Lou. My mother's name is Eva.
And what are your parents' dates of birth?
The significant point in that scene is you saw a mangled American body there, and then you saw a lead actor, Christopher Walken, in great pain. You saw the devastation of war. Now, you didn't see any Deer Hunter toys on the market after that film came out. People were stunned after seeing that film, seen mostly by adults. No toy company sold any Christopher Walken hospital pajamas. No toy company made a Deer Hunter tiger cage complete with toy rats like we saw at the top of the show. But look what's going on now in 3 recent combat films. Look at the joy, not the pain, in the big hit Rambo as Sylvester Stallone pretends to be dead as the enemy closes in. A good time to be had by all as Chuck Norris leads his troops, also on a hunt for lost American soldiers, in Missing in Action 2.
Here they come. Get your ass down the cliff.
Whoopee! Whoopee! Isn't that a lot of fun? And here's Chuck Norris stateside in Invasion USA having a jolly good time planting a car bomb on Soviet-led terrorists trying to destroy an American school bus.
Lose this?
Oh, that that Chuck Norris, what a funny guy. And Arnold Schwarzenegger does his thing as foreign terrorists try to destroy him and one of America's most prized possessions, the shopping mall. Now, it's very interesting in these later films, all rated R, as Roger mentioned, the bad guys attack, think about it, they attack kids in school buses, we saw that, and also the kids that inhabit the mall. And that's a very little clever gambit, I think, on Hollywood's part. An effort to get the kids to love their protectors. Chuck Norris protects the school bus. Arnold Schwarzenegger protects all the little shoppers. And that's one of the insidious ways that Hollywood is selling war to kids. It's not real war anymore. It's comic book war. The films are R-rated, but every kid who wants to see one of these pictures, they know they can find a theater owner that'll let them in to see it. And in the theater, the kids are going to stare up at the screen, and they're going to see a big man who protects them from the bad guys.
You know, I liked a couple of these movies. I gave good reviews to Rambo and Commando, too. I think you gave a good review to Rambo. As entertainment, as comic books for adults or for people over 17. But there's no doubt about it, these movies lie about war, and they lie to kids, and the kids are getting the message. That's the interesting thing, that Rambo is a hero to grade school kids who allegedly haven't seen the movie. And we know that they've seen First Blood, the first Rambo movie, probably on cable, certainly in cassette. When the cassettes come home, the whole family watches them. There's no attention paid to the R rating. And these kids are finding out an image of war and of the American fighting man, which has nothing to do with the experience that Americans have had to fight war.
Okay, Roger, you mentioned about kids seeing it on cable and cassette and sneaking into the theaters. I got a memo for you that I want to read you. Coleco Industries, this is from this summer. The company, this toy company, has scheduled its major Rambo product launch of all of its toys for the spring of 1986 to coincide with the expected airing of an animated Rambo TV series. In other words, Rambo will be coming next year on Saturday morning kiddie cartoon shows. They're not missing a bet. Every kid is going to see Rambo, and they're going to love Rambo, the fighting man who kills all the people.
So they don't see Rambo one way, they're going to see Rambo another way. And we're going to go to the toy department in just a second and see what's already there for kids. Next at the movies, the merchandising of Rambo. A few days ago, I paid a visit to a section of the department store that I haven't been to for a few years, the toy department. And a lot of the toys look just like the props for some of the movies we've been discussing on this program. There were naturally a lot of kids in the department. They were standing around. They were delighted when I asked them to try on some Rambo and Commando equipment and give me their reviews. It was a shopping adventure, something like this scene from Commando.
Where are we going?
Shopping.
What's that?
Rocket launcher.
This is Ralph, and he's driving the Rambo power cycle with the dual-mounted machine guns on the front, the aiming scope there on the handlebars, and his ammo box there in the back. That's supposed to be one of the best-selling Rambo toys this Christmas, and we have some of the other ones here. This is the combat chopper. This is a model of the helicopter that Rambo uses in the movie. And this is the Rambo electric train and battle set with battleground playmat. Electric trains have been an item at Christmas time for many years for kids. This one is a little different than the one that I got at Christmas time because this train blows up when you run it. This is a Rambo combat rifle target game set with ricochet sound. It makes the sound of the ricocheting bullets. This is a Rambo machine pistol. You put the clip in, and there are two settings here. I can set it like this, and it will shoot a dart. And then if I set it this way, it makes a good noise.
Well, I got a Rambo machine gun and a Rambo rifle, the Commando Army suit, and a Commando cap hat.
When I was in the toy department, I was under the impression that the set blew up, but apparently, looking at it more carefully now, I have to retract that. The train doesn't blow up. You blow it up.
If you want
Look
to.
at this. It looks like it's under fire here. Electric trains were a little more peaceful in my day. When I was a kid, it used to say Chesapeake and Ohio. Now it says Special Forces.
Or you'd have the special milk car. That was fun.
Remember the little milk cartons? Now they have little stickers that go on this train. It says dynamite, danger, explosives on your train set.
What else did you find?
This is the 45er action set. I showed this before, but I wanted to show you this. It says, recommended for children 5 years and over. I would really like to meet the people.
I would, maybe there's a zero missing.
No, I don't think so.
50.
I'd like to meet the people who decided this was appropriate for 5 years and up, and I'd like to ask them, why not 6 years and up, or 18 years and up? This is another great line here. Soft and safe hand grenades. See, these hand grenades in here are not hard, and so if I throw one at you, it won't hurt you because it's soft and safe, unlike real hand grenades. It was really kind of strange to look at all this stuff and realize that the vocabulary of the responsible toy industry, like recommended for kids 5 years and up, and these grenades are soft and safe, was being applied to these instruments of war. Here's the machine gun. I think you'll enjoy that one.
No, and I want to tell you what I found, because I got hooked on this whole story a few weeks ago, and I wrote about it. And mine was just one little simple package. This is called Rambo Black Flak Bubble Gum. And if you open it up, it's like shrapnel. And when I saw this, this is toy. This costs big money, heavy-duty stuff. Okay, you got to buy this stuff for Christmas. This stuff the kid buys at his own little counter. Black Flak chewing gum. This is made by the company that also makes the stuff that looks like chewing tobacco. Get kids started early on chewing tobacco, and hey, here's some flak. I'll throw it in. The flak that was in that body that we saw in the deer hunter was not something that you chew.
Was not too much like that.
This product is an insult.
And of course, one of the interesting things that you brought out earlier was that press release saying they're going to have a Saturday morning cartoon now of Rambo, so that Rambo becomes a kiddie character like Popeye, the Roadrunner, Donald Duck, and everybody else. So this is just terrific that one of the most successful images of killing and maiming and warfare in the history of American commercial movies is now being recycled directly into a kind of Mr. T that kids can identify.
A lot of fun. Coming up next at the movies, we'll talk to an internationally known child psychiatrist about the effect Rambo and other films like it may be having on kids. At this point in our show on Is Hollywood Selling War to Kids, some people may be asking, oh, come on, you guys, these are only movies, you eat your popcorn, you cheer the good guy, boo the bad guy, you leave the theater, you buy your kid a toy. What's the big deal? It's only a movie. They didn't hurt me when I was growing up. Good question. I came up with them myself. Well, recently I interviewed Dr. Ebert Poznansky, a respected child psychiatrist in Chicago, who has seen Rambo and has talked to many of her young patients about the film, and also to her professional colleagues and the kids that they're seeing about the film. And they're all talking about the film. First, we began with the issue of whether television and films have any influence at all on children.
I follow the view that television does influence behavior. I don't think it does it on a one-to-one kind of basis, but I think that the media has a very distinct effect on human behavior, and it may take a period of time for it to show itself, but it does.
Rambo, what most people call hell, he calls home.
You can produce aggressive behavior in children by playing them aggressive movies and then following sequentially what they do afterwards in terms of their own behavior.
So what you're saying is that people will change their behavior, youngsters particularly, will change their behavior by seeing Rambo and also by listening to all the coverage of Rambo, because the coverage of Rambo and the Rambo phenomenon has been enormous.
Yeah, but they will change their behavior if they're prone to do that in the first place.
I see.
You're not going to get a child who's normally sitting quiet, never is aggressive, to then all of a sudden become something terribly different. What you do is you subtly change the behavior of kids that are already prone in that direction.
Joined Army 6 June 69. Accepted Special Forces. Helicopter and language qualified. Expert in light weapons and guerrilla warfare.
We could be creating lots of little Rambos in the world, is that what you're saying?
Well, yes and no. To some extent, Rambo is seen as a bit as a caricature. He's not seen as a real person. And that kind of dehumanization, I think, is kind of familiar with any kind of highly aggressive topic. But even though it's almost a caricature, cartoon-like, almost, kids will follow it. And the other message is, we were talking earlier, is that it makes war glamorous. And I'm seeing a re-emergence of that.
Now, I suppose you just have to take my word for it that Dr. Poznansky is not a kook or a bleeding heart. I think that was obvious from the intelligence of her remarks. She recently represented, you might be interested, the United States at a World Health Organization conference in the Far East, and she is head of the child psychiatry section of one of Chicago's leading hospitals, the Rush Presbyterian St. Luke's Medical Center. And the point that she made that struck home with me the most is that these films are setting up combat as idealized male behavior, that blowing people away, particularly foreigners, is the essence of manliness. And this message, she reports, is being received by children.
So in other words, from what she told you, the kids that I talked to in the toy department, they said, oh no, I don't want to kill anyone, this is just a game, but maybe they were getting a subliminal message.
It's not subliminal.
When you grow up, you do have to act in this way in order to be a man and to have a man's responsibility.
This is what men do, is replacing, for all the other images, she felt it was some kind of reaction to some of the more, if you will, feminizing aspects that have been going on, the portrayal of men, the more sensitive men in the movies, like maybe Kramer versus Kramer, where Dustin Hoffman is being warm to his child, or if Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie learning the tender side, the woman's side again. But these are other movie images, he's saying now, that are coming on strong, saying, war, that's where you prove you really are a man.
And one of the funny things is, of course, that to the degree that movies that are made for adults trickle down to kids, isn't it funny it's always the bad ones that trickle down? There aren't a lot of kids going to see Kramer versus Kramer or Tootsie or seeing them at home on television or cassette, but there were a lot of kids who can't wait to see Rambo if they haven't already.
And they're, again, on the toy aspect, they're not marketing Tootsie dolls, and they're not marketing Kramer versus Kramer advertising executives.
Three-piece suits, right. Next at the movies, we take a look at three different kinds of war images: realistic Hollywood war movies, Rambo-style war movies, and real-life documentary footage from the Vietnam War itself. When they first came out, we gave good reviews to some of the Hollywood war movies we've been talking about on this program. For example, Rambo. But by the time the characters and images in those movies get diluted for the children's market, by the time they're recycled into toys and T-shirts, scooters and trains and fatigue uniforms, we're not talking about just movies anymore. We're talking about an attitude toward war that says war is fun, war is a game, war is something that would be great to grow up and be able to take part in. The Vietnam War is a war that, as you know, was fought on American television, and many of those images came into the Hollywood movies that were made about Vietnam, but today's Hollywood vision seems closer to the gung-ho shoot-'em-ups of John Wayne. Well, in this segment, we've taken some of that actual documentary television footage from the war in Vietnam, and we've intercut it with footage from Rambo. The contrast is pretty dramatic. The contrast between the invincible Rambo and the stark reality of the real thing is pretty dramatic there. It almost makes you forget that Hollywood itself is also capable of some pretty stark realism. For example, look at this scene from Francis Coppola's great movie Apocalypse Now.
Where'd the dog go?
Always been nice to have those.
Hey, Bubba! Bubba, you can't die!
And
Hey,
so,
Bubba!
Okay. Pretty soon.
Those are the kind of images of Vietnam that Hollywood made when the televised image of the war was still fresh in people's minds. Rambo is a good entertainment. I liked it on that level. Apocalypse Now, though, was a serious movie about a very serious war. I guess one way you can tell the difference is that there weren't any Apocalypse Now toys. What finally bothers me the most is that Hollywood doesn't seem to think there's any difference between making action movies for grown-ups and recycling those movies into toys for small children who learn that being Rambo is a whole lot of fun.
So really what we're saying here, as I listen to us, is, you know, what you could have done to solve this problem, all you people associated with Rambo? You could have made your movie, and that was fine, give us a positive review, but someone could have made a moral decision and said no to licensing. That's what it could have done. Commando, we're not going to license it. I don't want to license it. Schwarzenegger involved, the producer, any of these people, the studios, whoever says no.
Somebody should have come in and they should have talked to the toy companies, and when the guy from the toy company said, well, we're going to market this machine gun and we're going to advertise it as being suitable for children 5 years old and up, somebody, maybe Sylvester Stallone, maybe his agent or the vice president of his company, somebody should have said, well, gee, isn't 5 just a little low? Maybe this whole idea of trying to get that extra dollar out of selling these toys is just not a good idea. Maybe we should just be happy with the $200 million we've made from the movie.
Yeah. You would think that would be enough to get by on, wouldn't you? Well, that's it for this week. Next week we'll return with reviews of 4 new films from the beginning of the holiday movie season. We'll take a look at One Magic Christmas, starring Mary Steenburgen as a mother who doesn't believe in Christmas, and In Fever Pitch with Ryan O'Neal starring as a newspaper sports reporter who gets caught up in the subject he's investigating, as sports betting. That's next week, and until then, we'll see you at the movies.
Tatiana, created for a woman to love and a man to remember. Parfum Tatiana by Diane von Furstenberg. Shasta, more taste, more pizzazz, more flavors than anyone has. Say it, I want a pop, I want a Shasta. Nestle Crunch, it's creamy milk chocolate and crispy crunchies. Chocolate is scrunches when it crunches. That's why you'll love Nestle Crunch. From out of the ocean comes a unique blended seafood, new delicacies, now in the frozen food section.
This is Gemma Joseph. Next on Connecticut Now, an early American Thanksgiving in New England. The traditions, the food, and the celebration of the early 19th century recreated at Old Sturbridge Village. That's coming up next on Channel 61.